Hello and welcome to this short episode of The Unconventional Ufologist. Over the last few months I've been asked time and time again the same question by fellow ufologists, friends, family and even work colleagues. What do I think about this US government report on UFOs? So I'm going to let you know what to expect from the US government's report on UAPs. Since the announcement of this upcoming report, people are talking more on the subject as more and more information and video footage hits the news and the internet. The subject was often spoke of in hushed tones by the average man on the street as subscribing to the idea that good old planet Earth was being visited by extraterrestrial intelligences piloting nuts and bolts craft was tantamount to admitting insanity. This comprehensive report from the United States government on sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, has finally brought the subject out of the shadows and firmly under the spotlight. But before going any further, let's quickly rewind to that last sentence, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. What's the difference between a UAP and the popular UFO, unidentified flying object? Well, to be honest, nothing. Apart from the stigma that the acronym UFO brings, such as the thought of flying saucers and little green men, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, is now the official military term for good old-fashioned UFOs, and it also sounds more scientific, so therefore more acceptable, yet both relate to something in the air that isn't readily identifiable. And if you can, please like and subscribe, because one small click for you is a giant leap for me. In December 2020, the Intelligence Authorization Act called for the release of an unclassified and all sources report on unidentified aerial phenomena. In future, I'm just going to say UAPs from here on in. Prior to this, there was a series of events that eventually led to this report being put together. This included, in 2017, Navy videos leaked and caused a major stir online. The footage shows a cluster of odd-looking aircraft executing strange manoeuvres. The pilots can be heard saying, "What the f*** is that?" The Fleur 1 video released on December the 16th, 2017 was originally leaked as far back as February the 3rd, 2007 by a person using the pseudonym The Final Theory. It was posted on a thread on the above top secret website. This is an obscure message board site for discussions of conspiracy theories and paranormal events. The title to the post was Observations of an Actual UFO. In April 2020, the Pentagon formally released 3 videos, in turn admitting they were in fact captured by Navy pilots, but that the government has got no idea what the footage shows. Later, in December 2020, the government made the Intelligence Authorization Act law and called for an unclassified report on UAPs to be published in 2021. On April the 15th, 2021, the US Department of Defense, the DoD, once again confirmed the authenticity of photos and videos of UAPs that were originally taken in July 2019. The footage shows mysterious lights encircling the USS Russell and the USS Omaha at the Naval Base San Diego, a major point of operations for the US Navy. More recently, mid-May 2021, filmmaker and UFO enthusiast Jeremy Corbell posted an image on his Twitter page claiming that an unidentified aircraft crashed into the water and was not recovered. The footage the image was taken from was originally recorded in 2019 near San Diego. So just what should we expect from the Pentagon UFO report? Well, to be honest, I don't think a fantastic amount. I feel that it's going to be a sort of tick box exercise to appease the masses to dumb down the subject. If you admit that there are some things flying about that you've no idea how the flight characteristics are achieved or who is manufacturing these objects, but can at least say that you've seriously researched the reports via, for instance, ATIP, AATIP, Luis Elizondo's Advanced Aerospace Threat Investigation Program, then it looks like you've done your job. Anything regarding the military and its intelligence practices is that it's always on a need-to-know basis, and what we, the general public, get is what they need us to know, which is basically that, yep, something's going on and we're looking into it. Which is odd considering the amount of years, specifically since 1969 and the closure of Project Blue Book, that the US government military have not supposed to have been the slightest bit interested in the subject. Former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe said in a high-profile interview with Fox News in March this year that the report would contain information on difficult-to-explain sightings. He said, "We are talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or have been picked up by satellite imagery that frankly engage in actions that are difficult to explain, movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for or are travelling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without even a sonic boom." I mean, what kind of aircraft can drop from tens of thousands of feet in altitude to sea level in just a few seconds, perform right-angle turns at high speeds that ignore any laws regarding inertia and would turn any living occupant to jam, slammed against the bulkhead, and also render delicate machinery useless? Instant acceleration, no visible methods of propulsion, the ability to move through the air and the sea. And those examples, my friends, are just the tip of the iceberg. One thing is pretty much a certainty though, they are not going to say there is evidence of aliens. Since the report was commissioned, headlines in newspapers, YouTube documentaries and mainstream documentaries shout out about alien visitors or the possibility of alien visitors. Yet if you listen to the government spokespeople who have quite openly spoken about the leaked videos and reports, they've admitted that they've got no idea what they are and that the possibility that these could be Soviet or Chinese technology that is so far advanced it's unbelievable. But from what I've seen and read, never once have they mentioned the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligences being behind them. Mark Rodiger, Scientific Director of the J. Allen Hynek founded Centre for UFO Studies, or QFOS, believes that while the report can't include everything, there are also certain things it can't exclude. They can't exclude that it might be aliens, says Rodiger. They can't exclude whether it's the Russians or the Chinese, but I do think they're going to say that it isn't our technology. There are 3 points to keep in mind while you read this report. 1. UFOs and UAPs are basically the same thing. 2. Unidentified is not synonymous with of alien origin. 3. There are scientific reasons to be interested in the report even if we do rule out aliens. Rodiger again added that several years ago some people decided to use UAP because they thought UFO had a negative connotation that's too closely associated with aliens and little green men. But really, they do mean the same thing. Whatever the outcome, surely it has to lead away for more scientific research into the phenomenon. During an interview with CNN, NASA's newly appointed administrator Bill Nelson expressed interest in finding out what these flying objects that had appeared in Navy pilot videos were all about. Nelson also reportedly directed researchers from the space agency to start investigating the aerial phenomenon. There are several reasons why NASA would be interested in the upcoming report. It could be natural phenomena, optical effects in the atmosphere, or simply related to how people perceive things the way they do, which is something that NASA would be interested in due to their work in aviation. But as usually the way, Nelson added, there's also the possibility that there might be aliens flying around. But that's very much low down on the list of possibilities. I do sense though that we're not being told of all what the US military is holding in their hangars and secret military facilities. That could be much more likely to be the key to these recent waves of sightings. Ben Rich, who died in 1995, was an American engineer and the second director of Lockheed's Skunk Works from 1975 to 1991. The Skunk Works is Lockheed's Advanced Development Program, the project that brought us the SR-71 and stealth aircraft. In fact, Rich was regarded as the father of stealth, as he was responsible for leading the development of the F-117, the first production stealth aircraft. He made some memorable quotes which if anyone else made them we could easily dismiss and pooh-pooh, but not a man of Rich's calibre or knowledge. In a statement made after a UCLA presentation to 3 Disclosure Project witnesses, he said, "We already have the means to travel amongst the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black projects and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity." Also, direct comments by Ben Rich to Jim Goodall via telephone call at the USC Medical Center approximately 1 week before Ben passed away on January the 5th, 1995. He said, "Jim, we have things out in the desert that are 50 years beyond what you could possibly comprehend. If you've seen it on Star Wars or Star Trek, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort." And from a UCLA School of Engineering alumni speech on the 23rd of the 3rd, 1993, he said, "We now have the technology to take ET back home." These statements from a man who would know about the state-of-the-art aviation technologies 26 years ago should give an idea what we either had or were close to completing. Are these the technologies that we're seeing now? Rich said that some of the tech came from unfunded opportunities, or UFOs, but he won't be drawn on that any further. Personally, I think this report will be mostly concerned with security issues rather than aliens. The likely purpose will be to identify the type of threat that these flying objects pose to the country's defence. I mean, and again, this is probably the conspiracist in me, the military has had trillions thrown at it for wars against the Soviets, wars on terror and any other kind of threat to the United States. Is this the next step? Not knowing what they are means more money for the military-industrial complex to defend the US airspace, and is the possibility of this new threat a possible false flag event on the horizon for more money being filtered to the war machine and the allowance of governments to take away yet more civil liberties under the flag of an alien threat? Is there more to the Space Force than meets the eye? What if Gary McKinnon's NASA hack of 2001-2002, where he allegedly found evidence of a space fleet and non-terrestrial officers? Were they the space vehicles that Ben Rich alluded to? Like McKinnon, I don't have the proof, but what I do hope we get from the release of any material is that people may pay a little more attention to the subject and start asking questions themselves and see beyond the government and media rhetoric. Remember, Confucius once said that the man who asks a question is a fool for a minute. The man who does not ask is a fool for life. See you next time.